In today's episode, I'm going to show you the one and only filter that you really truly need for landscape photography, and I'm going to disclose why I believe that filter companies absolutely hate my guts. But first,
have a look at this business.
That's my line. Not really acceptable to be stealing me gimmicky catchphrases. That's all I've got. Have a look at this business.
So, if you're thinking of buying filters for your camera, keep watching because this video might just save you a bit of money.
And in this video, I'm also going to talk about why I think filter companies, they've got a bit of an uphill struggle constantly trying to innovate and market their products. But before I get into that, did you know that only about 30% of my subscribers actually get notifications when I put videos out? Did you know?
No.
Yeah.
I'm not a subscriber.
You don't subscribe?
No.
Well, that's probably why. Right, but anyway, if you subscribe to the channel, just be sure to hit that little bell icon and then you'll get notifications when I put new videos out. Oh, on this tide. Ridiculous. Now, one of the cool things, one of the benefits of being a YouTuber, God, am I a YouTuber or a landscape photographer? Anyway, I'm a YouTuber, I guess. One of the benefits is that companies, I'm gonna have to move. Anyway, I'll start this bit again. So one of the perks of having a YouTube channel is that gear manufacturers send you stuff. They want you to show it in your video. I mean, you don't get free cameras or lenses or the posh stuff, the expensive stuff, but the sort of accessory level stuff like filters, well, filter companies are quite keen to, get involved with YouTubers, especially YouTubers that tell the truth and are honest. And that is my problem here. I've turned away many lucrative sponsorship deals with filter companies, which I'm grateful for. I'm flattered that they want to pay me money to promote their products. But the reason why I've done that, why I've turned them down, is because I really only just use one filter, and that is a circular polarizer. So it's difficult to sort of get excited about a circular polarizer, and that is the problem that I think filter companies have, is that they're always trying to reinvent the wheel. They're always trying to innovate something that's pretty much already a perfect product, because of course they need to make money and you have to stay relevant and you have to keep releasing products to stay in the public eye. If you don't do that, people forget you exist. I mean, that's why I post videos almost weekly, because if I didn't, you guys would just forget all about me, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't forget about you.
You wouldn't forget about me, would you, love? Where's the battery compartment hanging out? And there's plenty of filter companies that have, filter holder systems. I don't really like using those because I'm all about minimal gear and speed of setup. I need to get set up and running really quick. I don't want to be faffing about with big pieces of glass and cleaning them and positioning them. Things like graduated ND filters, absolutely pointless. I never use a grad ND. That's because I can do what a grad does far better in about 2 seconds in Photoshop. And even Lightroom users can pretty much get the same result, which is better than using a grad ND, because then that is baked into your file. So I do have some sympathy with filter companies, because how do you reinvent an already perfect product? So if there's a filter company out there that wants to give me money just to promote one boring circular polarizer and just show it to people and say, there you go, it's a round piece of glass on my lens, then please get in touch, because I'd love to take your money. I really would. I really would, actually. So I'll get on to why a circular polarizer, or CPL, is pretty much the only filter that I think you are ever going to need for landscape photography, at least 90 to 95% of the time. But I will mention the other filter that I occasionally use, maybe just a few times a year, and that would be a 10-stop neutral density filter. I find that the other neutral density filters that are, not quite as dark, that just kind of cut down the light a little bit, they're almost pointless to me, because I can get the same result with a circular polarizer. So for me, it's either, if I can't do what I need to do with a CPL, which is pretty much what I usually do all the time, well then maybe I'll get an ND out. I might even use an ND and a CPL, but that very, very rarely happens.
So we stuck around for sunset, but it was rubbish. The following morning, however, well, have a look at this business.
Well, I really hope this is showing up on this little camera. What an absolutely glorious scene I've woken up to this morning. I'm here in the Minas Basin, I think that's how you pronounce it, in the Bay of Fundy in Nova Scotia, and just beautiful light, beautiful sea stack, gorgeous highlights on this rock in the foreground. Absolutely magic. And I'm kind of torn because I want to do everything. I want to talk to you and explain my shot, but I want to get my shot. So I think I'm going to have to do this video in reverse. I'm going to get my shot first, and then I'm going to talk about it after I've got the shot, because I just can't miss. This is the best light I've seen in months, so back in a second. This is just kicking off now. I'm absolutely in raptures. I'm kind of spoiled because I want to jump around all over the place, but then I'm just kind of nailed to the spot. I really love the light that's hitting this little bit in the foreground. And I've actually gone for a vertical frame, and now I've gone back to a horizontal frame, and now I'm thinking maybe I'll go back to a vertical frame. Oh, this is like Christmas and birthday, this. Right, I'll stop blabbing and start shooting. Well, that was nice while it lasted. So now I want to talk about why I love using a CPL, or circular polarizer. And first and foremost is how you can control the appearance of reflected light, especially when it comes to wetness, like wet rocks, wet trees, the glare that you get from wet surfaces when the sunlight just hits, let's say, a rock, and you want to just cut through that to get through to what's underneath that glare. You can use it to cut through the reflection in, let's say, a lake or a pond, so that you can see a bit more of what is under the surface. You can use it to cut the glare on some wet rocks or tree roots, whatever it is, for things like waterfall shots or forest scenes. It's really good for deciding on where the position, just with a little turn, where the position of that glare will be, because sometimes you want to keep it and sometimes you don't. But with the CPL, you get to decide with just that little turn of that filter. And then the other thing that I love about doing that is that you can also enhance the contrast and the color saturation of things. So if you were taking a picture of a waterfall, let's say it was an autumn scene with wet rocks, loads of water, wet trees, all that kind of stuff, you can just turn that polarizer, and now, because you don't see that glare from the wetness and the light hitting those wet surfaces, that's gone. It now appears to be more saturated and more contrasty. And that also works with clouds. Like if you've got a moody sky with some dark clouds in it, you turn that polarizer at the right angle and it's just going to really set it off and look a lot more moody. And then the final reason why I absolutely love CPLs and why they're always on my lenses is because I can kind of use it like a neutral density filter and control the shutter speed. I can pretty much always, I would say 90% of the time, get the exact shutter speed that I want just by using the light cutting properties of a CPL, because they do kind of work a little bit like an ND. Because when used correctly, you can turn that CPL and cut down a significant amount of light that's entering your lens, and that will usually give you the shutter speed that you want. Now, if you were shooting in super bright light and you wanted an aperture of f8 or something like that, then maybe you'd need an ND. But for the kind of photography that I do, sort of landscape photography, when it's waterfalls, forests, lakes, that kind of thing, usually I can keep a very sharp aperture of, let's say, f11, and just with the polarizer I can typically achieve the shutter speed that I want for, let's say, a waterfall in a forest. Maybe I'm after a half second or 1/4 of a second. I can get that with just a slight turn of that CPL and selective aperture from maybe f11 to f16 at the narrowest, I don't need that ND most of the time. Now, if it's super bright and you're in a bright forest, then yeah, you're going to need it, but why would you be shooting in a forest when it's super bright? So in a nutshell, a CPL will give you the reflection control that you want. It will slow down the shutter speed typically to whatever you need it to be, and you can enhance your color saturation and your contrast. Right, well, I think this place has been rinsed and I don't think it's going to look any better than it already did. So we'll move on and then I'll talk about neutral density filters. Okay, so when and how would I use a 10-stop ND filter, a neutral density filter? And like I said before, it's a rare occasion for me, but basically I use a 10-stop ND to fix a problem. It's either for an extreme effect where I want to force a 30-second exposure in bright daylight, or to fix a problem such as this shot here of Mono Lake, where if you look at the water there, you'll see it's nice and smooth. And I wanted it smooth because I wanted your eyes to be drawn to the tufa mounds rather than this complicated choppy water, which it was when I was just shooting without the 10-stop ND. But as soon as I put the 10-stop on, I could just flatten out that water and have a 30-second exposure. And now it's a much simpler image and your eyes drawn to the parts of the image that I want you to look at instead of the ugly parts that I don't want you to look at. So it's turd polishing basically. A 10-stop ND is really good for turd polishing and for extreme effects. Like if you want really streaky clouds, you know, you could even do several minutes exposure if you wanted super streaky clouds. I know Thomas Heaton does that kind of stuff all the time. It's not for me, to be quite honest with you.
Another reason why you might want to use a 10-stop ND is for a shot like this where you want to shoot wide open for shallow depth of field, but the light is relatively bright. But I'd still recommend trying it with just a CPL first.
But yeah, that is typically why I'll choose to put a 10-stop neutral density filter on. And then the way that I like to use them is I prefer these magnetic clip-on filters. Now for my circular polarizer, I really don't care if it's one of these. In fact, it's usually better to have a threaded one that you just screw in and it just stays in all of the time. And the reason for that is because I've tried many of these magnetic filter systems. If you've not seen these before, well, basically you just have this kind of step down. It's kind of like a step down ring. You basically put that onto your lens, and that is what your magnetic filter will attach to. And the problem that I've found with pretty much all of these manufacturers that do this is if you need the plastic lens hood, because it's, you know, there's bright sun and there's some lens flare, these either are physically impossible to get on, or if they've designed one that's small enough so that you can still get your lens hood on, I find that they vignette, typically with the 16 to 35 anyway. Perhaps they don't do that with longer focal lengths, but that's the challenge that I've had. So when it comes to circular polarizers, I won't use this type of system, but with a 10-stop ND filter, these come in really handy, and I'll show you why. So this is only a 16 to 35, right? But let's just say you had the 100 to 400 or a 70 to 200. You got a telephoto lens, and you've extended that lens as far as it will go, right? And you want to do a long exposure, you want to focus on a tree or whatever. What you can do without messing with your lens is you can just take the filter off, focus perfectly, you get perfect focus, and just with one little tiny gentle snap, and watch this, the magnet will kind of suck it in. There you go. With no pressure on the lens, the filter is attached, and now you don't have to focus with a dark piece of welder's glass, because if you've ever used a 10-stop ND filter, you'll know that as soon as you put it on, well, you can't see anything because it's dark, right? So that will prevent you from messing up your focus, because if you've ever used those big sort of square rectangular pieces of glass that fit into like a little slot in a filter holder system, when you are fully extended and you've just done your focus, it's tricky to get that piece of glass in without some pressure being added to the front of the lens, and that can just knock it out of focus. Same with a threaded one. If you're not careful, as you're screwing that filter back in, you can mess up your focus. Whereas with these, it's just effortless, and it will not mess up your focus. So that is how and when I would choose to use a 10-stop ND filter. Now I'm going to give you an honest revelation now about all these filter companies, all these different brands that make these filters, and they're not going to like me telling you this hard truth. And the hard truth is that once you get up to the sort of pro level of filters, the sort of higher quality, in my experience, and this is not scientific, this is just me using lots and lots of different filters out in the field, to be quite honest with you, there's not much difference between all of the top filter companies. You know, it's a piece of glass with some coating on it. I mean, as long as you're doing high quality products, how much difference really can there be? Now, obviously, if you spent $30 on a cheap eBay CPL or ND, it's probably going to be crap. But once you are paying the pro level prices, they're all much of a muchness. There's really no distinction to me between the actual quality of the product, the actual piece of glass itself. And I guess the only distinction that I would make, and that you ought to think about if you're in the market to buy some filters, is what will this company do for me in terms of customer service? Will they look after you if you have a problem? So let's just say you've been using this for 3 months and in a certain kind of light you notice a weird color cast. Well, you want to be able to email the company and say, look, this is what's happened, what do you think to this? And they should reply, and they should take care of you as a customer, especially if you spent a few $100s, right? So it's all about, to me, it's all about customer service, the quality of the after sales experience. That's what I would be looking at if I was you and I was looking to buy any kind of filter, because like I said, once you get up to the pro level, the quality is about the same, but perhaps the after sales support is not, and that is where I would put my money. So if you're a filter company and you've watched this video and you don't hate me and you're not upset at the hard truths that I've just dropped there, and you want to give me money to just kind of do this in my videos, look everybody, there's a filter on my lens. If that's enough for you, get in touch, because I'd love to take your money, I really would.
He would. Tell him. You would, wouldn't you?
It's true, I really would. I mean, the church is just bleeding me dry. It's a right money pit.
Oh, that roof, eh? Bloody hell, that was pricey.
Yeah, new roof.
Oh, and then there's the insulation. That's bloody pricey, I'll tell you that.
Get in touch, if you...
Get in touch.
Yeah. Right, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the old like button and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to tickle my bell, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.